Good morning and welcome to Opening the Door to the Unknown. I'm your host, Dr. Clark Schmidt, or Megas 1100. Well, just got a few public service announcements before I get into the lecture I'm going to give this morning. One is that I feel greatly relieved with my medical test that I finally received by my doctor. And I found out is that he and I were definitely worried more than him than me. Is that I had took a, um, a sonogram on my on my on my kidneys and found out that I didn't have any tumors, cancerous tumors, or even cysts, which he was kind of really concerned about, has caused me into moving my chronic kidney disease into moving into stage 4 situation. Um, I told him I didn't think that I had cancer, but he was still mighty concerned about it, and so I still took the test, and I was right. What caused my chronic kidney disease is my diabetes and also my hypertension, which now we can really work on as to lower the hypertension, my blood pressure, lowering the diabetes to get back into the A1A or the A1C 6 level, or at least 6.1, and getting into a diet, moving into a diet, and cholesterol, triglyceride, the whole 9 yards, to slow down the progression of moving into actually moving into stage 4. I'm damn close, okay, but like I said, it's something that the doctor and I can work on as to slow the progression. If we do that, I'm good. Number two is that Dr. Donna Harris, this friend of mine from England, will be here next Saturday, the 1st, and I will be giving her an interview, which is going to be very interesting, since we only have a few hours together. But I do promise an interview, and I will get it up onto the channel. And like I said, it's going to be very interesting um, with our conversation. And I think that takes care of my public service announcements, or my little commercials. Okay, getting into what I want to talk about this morning is that I have three, how should I say, three personal experiences that I'd like to finish out before I get into the meat of ufology. And I think that the three experiences that I had kind of neat, personally, my way of thinking, and they're very interesting indeed. So I didn't know which way I wanted to start. If I wanted to go with our visitation my wife and I had in our motel room one night, or the guardian affair, or working with people that have actually been abducted. So I decided that to go with the visitation that my wife and I had one night, and it all started again with Jim Mosley. I mentioned Jim in my last vid, and he was, like I said, he was a very interesting person. He was funny. He knew, being in the field of ufology longer than I was. really got to know people, and one of his best friends again was Gray Barker, and he and Mosley would really create some antics within the field. I mean, they screwed around with George Adamski back in the 50s. Mosley, I always thought was a disinformationalist, especially when he created saucer smear. I think that if you look up saucer smear on the net, is that his people might still be keeping it up. Okay, Saucer Smear was like a little zine that Mosley created. Um, Very interesting and very well, and to my way of thinking, very well done. But like I said, if it wouldn't have been for Jim, is that my wife and I would never have experienced our strange night. And how it started is that Mosley was uh, always went around the UFO circuit giving lectures or was at conventions. And they always had a convention up in Gulf Breeze, Florida. Um, since Winters, I think his name Winters, I think that was his last name, captured a UFO and wrote a book about what was going up in the Panhandle. So Mosley said, "Well, why don't you and your wife take a leisurely drive up to Gulf Breeze and do some investigating?" And I said, "Gee, Jim, I really don't think I can really get away with the shopping with the school." He says, "I just close it out for a couple of days." So I talked to my wife, and she liked the idea. So I said, "All right, we'll leave early Friday morning. Just take a leisurely drive." Which I didn't find out was almost like 6 hours. It was almost like 6 hours to get up to the Panhandle from where I lived at the time. But it was fun. I mean, we weren't really in a hurry, and we left around 9 o'clock in the morning, and we got up there around 12, almost midnight. So when we got up there, I was thirsty. I said to my wife, I said, we got to find a motel room for a few days, and I'm thirsty. I'd like to have a beer. And she said, "Well," she says, "it must be." She said, "Well, let's go get the hotel room, and then we'll go to 7-Eleven, and we can start asking. We can start our investigation." Um, of what is actually going on up here, especially with the crazy sightings that people were experiencing. So we got a hotel. So we got our motel room, and we went. And by this time, it's around 1 o'clock in the morning, and found a 7-Eleven. Um, I was looking around for some munchies before I went to the cooler for a 6 pack of beer, and my wife was talking to the checkout, the checkout guy, and she said, "Hey, Clark, come here." And so I walked over. I said, "Yeah." She says, She says, "I want you to meet so and so, who's the clerk, night clerk." And so she introduced each other. So she introduced us, and she said is that if you want to really find out what's been going on, so-and-so has all the information. And so I got to talk to, so I started to talk to him, and he told me is that, yeah, he said, last few months is that we've been having some UFO sightings, really weird stuff. And I said, really? He said, yeah. So naturally, I had my camera in my case, and I always carried around a camera. My camera just in case something interesting that I wanted to take a picture of. And so I said, well, can I take a picture of it? And he said, yeah, no problem. And I said, okay. So I took out my camera, click, click, and put it back in the case, and we got to talk a little bit more. And he said, now here's where you go. You go down to the down to the beach. There'll be like the city pier. Um, you can't miss it. Plus, also you will see a sign that will say, "Welcome to Golf Breeze," yada yada yada. And he said is that there'll probably be some people down there you can talk to who will be waiting for this strange phenomena to happen. So I said, okay, Laura. I said, okay. So we thanked us. So we bought the beer and the munchies, and got into the car. And it was only like about it was only about like 4 or 5 blocks where we were heading, and parked the car, got out, and I'm looking around, and beautiful spot. I mean, great, beautiful spot. And trying to remember. Okay, got it. Is that we were talking? Must have been talking a little loud because a couple overheard us, and they came out of the brush, the bushes, you might say, and they said talking about UFOs, and I said, yeah, I said, I'm a UFO investigator, researcher, and I come from Boca, drove all the way up here to do some research because what I've been hearing about the strange phenomena and different stories about close encounters of the third kind, and the young woman who was with this guy said, "That's right, that's what we're here. In fact, if you were here last night, you would have seen a few UFOs, kind of like off the, not skimming off the water, but just the horizon, and up and like this, and slow, and really slow." And I said, "Wow." I said, and I asked them, well, were they like were they like cylinder or round or what type of shape? And the guy told me, and so he says, "We gotta go now, but yeah, if you just stick around, you might see 3 of them up and move, and then position themselves out in the out near the out trying to think, out in the horizon, you might say, and it looks like they're trying, and they look like they're forming a triangle." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Wow." I said, "Well," I said, "I'm glad that I have my photo my photo lens, my telescopic photo lens for the camera with me." So I'm popping pictures all over the place. I got one with my wife by the side. I got her on the pier, and all of a sudden here comes a crowd of people, and they're kind of talking, and they start begin to milling around, and I introduced introduced myself to them, and we exchanged names, and we're just talking, having a good time. And all of a sudden, it was about 2 a.m., about maybe 2, oh, maybe 2:30 in the morning, which I thought to me was just a little bit late for being up because I did like my sleep. But anyways, I have to go. Let me see here. All this paper that I got, nice little things written on it. Okay, I'll use this. Anyways, is that here's how it worked. Okay, this was really neat. Is that you had okay? Well, let me draw first. Pens are not working. Anyways, I'll do it this way. Anyways, around 2 or 2:30 in the morning. Let's see if we can get okay. Around 2 or 2:30 in the morning. All right, is that just it was like the moon was just fantastic. I mean, it lit up the Gulf like you wouldn't believe. The stars were out there just shining. It was quiet. There was no lights in the background. It was so, how should I say, serene. You just couldn't believe it. And like I said, in quiet, my goodness. Anyways, is that you saw an object. Let's see if I can do it this way. Yeah, that moved like here. Okay, you see this line? Okay. It came out of just nowhere, and all of a sudden this object was round, and it positioned itself in mid sky. Okay, then all of a sudden another one came from the opposite. Okay, like can I do it? Yeah, from the opposite direction, and positioned itself where you can see the circle right here, and then the third one came and it positioned itself right there to make if you drew a line for a connection like a triangle. Well, here I got my camera, put the photo lens on, and I started shooting pictures as well. I started shooting pictures as fast as I could, as the camera could take them. Bam, 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 like that. And we're all watching, and the people that were milling around were all talking, we're all pointing up like this, and we're just having a good old time just watching what was going on. And they didn't move. These three objects did not move. Now, they were not helicopters. They were not any type of jet coming from coming from Pensacola Naval Base. We just did not know where these damn things came from, but there they were just the same. Boom, they were there. And I was just taking pictures, boom, 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 and taking pictures of the people around that were milling around, and took picture of the shimmering water of the moon. I mean, you know, I was just taking pictures all over the place. Well, these three objects stayed or presented themselves, let me say, for about an hour. So it must have been about 3:30. Now I'm getting tired. I wanted to get to the motel room. I wanted a beer before I went to bed for a few hours. and having plans of what we were going to do the next morning around the town. Anyways, my wife is getting ready. My wife is in the bathroom and she's getting ready for bed, and I'm waiting for her to get done so I can get in there, which I did. And I cracked open a beer, turned on the TV, watched a little TV, finished the beer, and I said to my wife, "I'm going to sleep. That's it. I'm done. I'm tired. We had a long drive. We watched a spectacular showing of UFOs. It says I'm going to bed. I'm going to go to sleep. That's it. I'm done." Turned out the light. I was just starting to slowly move into. I was just starting to slowly move into a dream, moving from beta into alpha, moving out of beta, slowly moving into alpha state of sleep, and all of a sudden I get a boom. With my wife gave me an elbow in my rib, and she says to me quietly, "Do you see them?" Just like that. And my eyes are closed, like I said, I'm just slowly moving into beta, moving into alpha, just ready to get some sleep, falling asleep, and she says, "Do you see them?" So I said quietly, "No, I've got my eyes closed." And she says, slow. She said, "Well, open your eyes, but don't move, but tell me, um, if you if you see them." So I was on my left side, so I slowly rolled on my back without making any noise, like she said. I tried not to move, but I couldn't see. I would have been looking at a wall. So I turned on my back, opened my eyes, and she says, "Do you see him now?" And I says, "Yeah, two." And she says, "Yeah, there's two." And I'm thinking to myself, two what? What the, this is how my mind is now rolling. I said, "Two what?" And she says, "Just don't move, don't say nothing." And believe me, I wasn't gonna move, and I certainly wasn't gonna say anything. And one was at the foot of the bed, and the other started to slowly move, coming around to my wife's side of the bed. And I'm laying there, I don't have my camera, and I'm not going to move or say anything. I'm just watching. Anyways, is that she always maintained is that the one that came around to her side of the bed stuck something like a metallic object into her mouth because she felt like, she started to have like a gagging reflex. And I was like drawing a picture in my mind of actually what these things look like. And I'll give you a description in just 1 minute. Anyways, is that the one that was near my wife's side of the bed, she always maintained is that it also had like a black box about maybe this, maybe about like that, and about like that, and kept pointing this box at her. And she said is that she felt very weird when this entity did that. Anyways, is that just boom, disappeared. And she got up and she went into the bathroom and she became violently, I'm talking about violently sick. I mean, she was throwing up all over the place. And she just said is that she could not get the taste of that metallic object that she felt was being placed into her mouth. She tried mouthwash and she brushed her teeth and she did everything um, to get the taste out of her, to get the taste out of her mouth. Um, finally, the effect started to slowly dissipate to where she could finally get back to sleep. But by this time, it's 6 a.m. It's around 6 a.m. in the morning, and so I I cracked the beer and I said, "Let's get the hell out of here. Let's get back to Boca." And she thought it was a good idea. I said, we came up here, we got the information, we got the pictures that we needed. I just have to analyze them when we get back and get a hold of Jim and try to set up a meeting. Try to set up a meeting with him. Going to Key West and stay at his bungalow. Anyways, is that we got we got back to Boca, and must have been around 2:33 o'clock, about 2:33 o'clock, and my wife is taking a shower, and I decided to finish out the pictures and run them over. I mean, to fill out the roll, so I could take the roll out of the camera, send it over to Wolf Camera to have them developed. And so I said to my wife, I said, hey, listen, I'm gonna be running over to Wolf Camera to get pictures developed so we can start looking at what we took last night. And she said, okay. I said I should be back on about 15, maybe 20 minutes. Never got there. Never got to Wolf Camera. The reason why is that when I started to take when I wanted to finish out the roll in the camera itself, I kept hearing, like, every time I snapped to take the picture, something didn't sound, or something did not sound right. Something did not sound right. And I kept thinking, well, what the hell's going on? My battery's dead. Just what's the problem here? So I figured, okay, I'm gonna be stupid. I'm going to open the camera, open the back of the camera, and see if the film got caught or something like that. That maybe I might ruin a couple of pictures at the end, but it won't hurt the previous pictures that I took. Went into the bedroom, had the lights turned down very low, opened the back of the camera, and I looked again, and I said, and I yelled out to my wife, I said, did I put a new roll of film in the camera last night? And my wife said, yes. I said, are you sure? And she said, very. I watched you do it. I said, well, guess you're not going to believe this. And she yelled back in from the bathroom. She said, what? I said, the film is gone. And she said, what? I said, yeah. I said, the damn film is gone. And I said, are you sure that I put film in the case? She said, honey bunny, I watched. yes, you put film in. I said, well, I thought I did. Well, I'll be a son of a bitch. Is that our visitors last night took the film out of the damn camera without us knowing about it. And she said, well, how could they? We watched them. And I said, yeah. I said, we watched them. But how could they have done it? And I said, now that is the most creepiest experience of a happening that I can't believe. That we have two visitors come into our motel room around 3 o'clock in the morning. They shove stuff in your mouth, point a box at you, make you violently sick, and they have the audacity to steal film from my camera without even paying for the film? I said, well, gee, I can tell where their morality lies. They're nothing but thieves. This is what I actually said to my wife, because I was teed off because of all the pictures, with all the pictures that I taken. And they were great pictures, like I said, with her standing by the sign on the pier, with all the stars, the moon, with the people that we were talking to, getting the pictures of the three objects that position themselves in the form of the triangle, the whole 9 yards. I mean, great pictures. And I said to my wife, you know, I said, maybe I took something that they didn't want us to see. And she said, well, that could be she said, that could be a possibility. And I said, by the way, you still got that metallic taste in your mouth. And she said, no, that's fine. No, that's finally gone. But the sad thing is she was diagnosed with breast cancer for stage 4, and we tried everything. We tried everything that we could possibly think of. I talked her into her taking the chemo and some other things, and we got into a regressed state. But all of a sudden, it came back with full force. Now, I do not know to this day, and this happened in 1987. I do not know. No, I'm sorry. In 97, I do not know that whatever they put in my wife's mouth was something to stop the progression of the cancer, to cure her of the cancer, or what was the whole story on why this one particular entity was doing what it was doing to my wife that early morning. I have still to this day I have no idea. She didn't know. All she remembers is with the bad taste, and also having the funny feeling, she felt when this entity also held this box and brought it close to her. I have no idea, but like I said, is that I will give you a description of what they look like. Did you ever watch a Star Trek episode called, I think the episode was called The Angel, where you had the kids that called, like the Angel, and you had Bella, Marvin Bella, appear, with that shiny type of clothing, robe, you might say, or whatever. Well, anyways, it wasn't Melvin Bella. that appeared by the children, calling him as the angel. But these beings that came into our room that early morning hours, they were about 7 feet slender, and wore beautiful. I'm telling you, beautiful long robes. Something I never saw before. Um, I knew that you couldn't buy the clothing anywhere. Um, at least to my way of thinking at that time, that you couldn't buy the clothing anywhere. Um, I could not really get, because we were still in dark, in semi-darkness, is that couldn't really get to look at the face. But I would have to say, by the clothing that uh, they were like humanoids. The only difference is being almost being almost 7 feet tall. All right. Um, so it was like, wow, man. I mean, here we saw that that day was the positioning of three objects in the sky, forming like a triangle. Talked to some nice people, took some great pictures, which I never saw because I couldn't develop it because the film was stolen. We had the visitation in in our motel room, and when I talked to when I called Mosley that evening, I told him all this, and he just went. He said, you really had a good time up in Gophries, and I said, damn right. I said, damn right, Laurel and I did. So that is the story of our close encounter of the third of our CE3, with two beings that I classified again as being humanoid. Okay, so I got it. I'm going to take a break for a moment to get myself some coffee, and then if I can find a book, which I'm going to need here. They always say a picture says a thousand. They always say a picture says 1,000 words, and I will show you the picture when I get into the, what I call is the guardian affair. I had a friend. I had a friend who belonged to MUFON. I really didn't like MUFON for particular reasons, which I'm not going to delve into. But I really don't like MUFON, um, and I'm going to, like I said, particular reasons. But anyways, she was a member of MUFON for some time, and she was also a member of Dr. Frank Stranger's organization with Val Thorpe. She told me is that she told me is that she saw Val's I'm trying to think of Val Thor's the name of the ship. Uh, Give me a minute. The Valiant One, okay, is that Val's Thor's ship, the Valiant One, is when Dr. Strangers had a chance to take a group, you might say, an inside group, um, to visit the ship, not going inside the ship itself, but just to visit the ship. And it was a big, and according to this friend of mine, is that it was a major thrill for her to actually see a UFO. Now, again, you're going to say to yourself, well, uh, I, I'm trying to think how you guys would think at this moment in time when I say is that Dr. Frank Strangers, who introduced Val Thor to the Pentagon, you might say, in Washington back in the 50s, is that the guy claimed, Val Thor claimed to be a Venetian, and a lot of, and claimed, and brought a book, you might say, on how to cure diseases, which is all true. I mean, I talked to Dr. Frank Strangers personally, and he actually mentioned this, is that in fact, he wrote a book, Stranger at the Pentagon, if you can find the book. Anyways, is that this friend of mine used to come to my UFO lectures on Friday evenings, just like those two spooks did, as I told you about in my last video. Okay. And so we got to talking, and she said to me, she says, Clark, she says, can I ask you for a favor? And I said, yeah. I says, you could ask for a favor, and I'll be happy to accommodate to a certain point. I says, don't ask me to rob a bank, break somebody out of the federal pen, give you my home. But I said, yeah, I'd be happy to do you a favor. She said, well, on Friday, she says, on Friday, can you have, instead of like a regular UFO meeting, there's somebody there's somebody I would like to introduce you to. And I said, oh, really? And she said, yeah, very interesting person. And I questioned her. I said, well, how did you meet this person, and how long have you known this person, and what does this general questions. And she said, well, I got a phone. She says, I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and said is that this person's been on the run she said this person has been on the run for a while, trying to get away from the federal government. And I said, what federal government? She said, Canadian government. And the Canadians and the FBI has been working with the Royal Mounted Canadian Royal Mounted Police. And I said, for what? I said, you want me to bring in a fugitive, to hide a fugitive at the school? And she said, no, not hide. He wants to tell people some things that if anything happens to him, at least you know what's going on with him. And I said, Sheila, I said, what is the mystery here? And she says, you find out. And I said, oh, great. I said, okay, this is your party, not mine. I said, Friday night, instead of getting into a discussion or getting into a lecture on UFOs, is that, hold a minute. Damn. Sorry about that. One of my guys or teachers or family members writing back at me again. They always do that just about this time of morning, and it makes me sneeze. Where was I? Oh yeah. So, anyways, I said, hey, um, I said this is your party, it's not mine. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna give you the run of of Friday, and she says thank you. So, anyways, Friday night came, and all of a sudden, for some reason, the parking lot's getting kind of full with cars. And I said to my wife, I said, Laurel, I said, this is the first time I ever had this many people come to the school here on a Friday night for a UFO lecture. I said, maybe I might have about 10, maybe 15 at the most, but there must have been about 25, 30. I said, I said, it's too bad that we weren't collecting for, we didn't sell tickets. We would have made ourselves a little money that night. Anyways, so my wife made some big pot of coffee, and we had some donuts, and she put, we had some cups, and the plastic, the solos, the solo cups up, and the styrofoam solo cups. Anyways, is that people are starting to sit down, and finally Sheila arrived with this person. Now, this person looked disheveled. I mean, he wore black. I mean, like a black T-shirt, black black jeans. He had wore black socks, black. I thought he was a spook, man. I thought he was an MIB. To tell you the truth, the way that he was dressed up. Anyways, is anyways, I'm thinking to myself, man, this is damn crazy. This is really nuts. I mean, I have experienced a lot of crazy things in my lifetime, but this is really. Anyways, I wasn't, like I said, it wasn't my party. She was the host that evening, and so I was just like somebody that just came in, like the rest of the crowd, and sat down. Anyway, she began to talk, and everybody, all of a sudden the room became, quiet, and I don't know how I want to get into this part of the story. Is that let me go? Yeah, okay, I can do it this way. Now I'm going to go back. Okay. Now remember, when I come back to the present, is that Sheila was just ready to introduce this person. So I'm going to go back into time now to a time where it was back in the late 80s. See if I can, and I had a. No, let's see, that's Ray Palmer talked about him. No, that's the aviary. Alright, where are we? Just give me a minute, see? Because I really had to do some, I had to really do some research on this when it happened. And I'm looking for in my notes here, so if you just give me, just give me a, just give me a little time here. Is it over here? Alright, just give me a few seconds here. I hate this, I thought I had everything. Alright. I'll be talking about that. What's this? I don't know how this stuff. Oh, okay. Just give me just a minute here. Well, I took this stuff out because I figured I had it all the way I wanted it. Well, I'll find it here in a minute, guys. I know this kind of teased me off when I should have this. No, this is the means of where we'll be talking about that later on. What's this here? Ah, got it. It was just turned upside down. Okay. Going back into time. This happened in this incident happened in, it was caught actually recorded as the Carp Guardian case. It was the most controversial case in Canadian history. Okay. Yeah, it was about 80. Yeah, it was about 89 when this happened. When actually this happened. It was about a guy. It was about a guy who called himself the Guardian. That took. How should I say, who took over pictures of UFOs, and as the Guardian, he would write, he would send in these pictures to, the news media. He would send in these pictures to the news media, and anyways, is that I'm trying to remember without actually reading off my major notes here. Is that it was about a UFO. It was about a UFO. Okay. That was spotted. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, because this is kind of a strange case. All right. So if you allow me here, I'll give it to you verbatim here. Actually, there was a woman named Sarah that contacted on what the Encounters TV, on the Encounters TV series. I don't know if you ever saw the encounters, encounters, but when I used to watch it. I really enjoyed it. But anyways, is that Sarah said is that seeing bright lights over the trees at the Lembeck farm. Okay, at the Lembeck farm. Again, this was in all this was happening in Canada at the time. Seeing two aliens. Okay, seeing two aliens exit a craft on the road in front of the house. Hearing a helicopter pass over the Lembeck farm after the event, knowing whether or not the video on of the aliens was a hoax. No knowledge of a hoax. Now, when they talk about the video, again, this is um, from the Guardian himself that actually took footage of what was going on during this landing. In fact, it was on what was that TV show with Robert Stack, Unsolved Mysteries, if I remember rightly, that they showed that they actually showed this. I do not know if sightings. I think sightings did not show it, but Unsolved Mysteries did. Okay, and they actually showed the footage they actually showed the footage of the UFO landing by this farmhouse. Excuse me for 1 minute. Um, okay. I hate runny noses. All right. Anyways, is that so? Again, uh, the the footage was actually sent. I think is that the Guardian had a couple of tapes that he reproduced, and he sent one. He sent one of the tapes to the. Let's see. Oh, a recent release document from the Canadian government states that three experts from the Department of Transportation concluded that what landed at the Lembeck field was likely either a an air jet, or I mean a commercial helicopter, or else a UH-60 U.S. military helicopter. Yes, U.S. helicopters do cross the border into Canada. These helicopters have a white masthead light at the center rotation of the control rods. The control rods are small diameter CA1 vertical bars which run between the top of the helicopter body and the blades. They control the aerodynamics of the blades. Okay. Okay, now, the supposed UFO does not at all resemble a helicopter. Rotating helicopter blades would create a wind that would stir up the smoke from the red fighters. Although the videotape picked up the noise of a dog hundreds of feet away, there is no engine noise that would be expected if the video photographer were as close as 1,000 feet from a helicopter. Okay, yada yada yada. There's some other type of stuff here that was analyzed on the video that was sent by the Guardian. MUFON of Ontario came onto the scene, and they gave their version. This case had much coverage in the media. Tabloid television shows the unsolved mystery sighting and encounters have given it much airtime as have cable television stations all over North America. Okay, if you can find an encounters episode with the Guardian or with the Carp case or the unsolved mysteries, I think that you find it very fast. You will find it very fascinating. Okay. Internationally, magazines, newspapers, and newsletters have devoted hundreds of pages to it, and UFO conferences around the planet have intrigued many thousands of attendees with the seemingly startling detail. This all came from Carp by taking the video of this supposedly UFO that planted itself near this farm. Carp has achieved one of the most significant cases in UFO history status. You probably heard, seen, and read about it yourself. In this and its succeeding issues, we'll deal with the facts of this case. All right, and then they say beginnings of 1989. And then they give a package containing a story about a UFO crash that supposedly happened close to Carton Place, which is about a half an hour from Ottawa. There was this guy who received received this package. There was also a photocopied picture of an alien. Okay. Anyways, to make a long story short about the Carp case, about this, is that the government of Canada was looking for the Guardian, and they couldn't find him. Put it like that. I mean, he disappeared. There was end of story. Well, now here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. Is that then when Sheila asked me if she could on that particular Friday night have my lecture hall at the school opened, not for a lecture per se, but for the introduction of this person that was staying at that time at her house, was the Guardian himself. I know his real name. I'm not going to give the name. All right, but I know the Guardian's real name, and he told me a lot of that night. Well, he just didn't tell me, but he told the people that came to the school to listen to him what was things that he experienced, not only with what he did up in Canada, but at Ruby Ridge as well. I'm not going to get into Ruby Ridge, or I'm not going to get myself into Ruby Ridge. That's a different story. But if you want to do some investigating on that subject, is that the Guardian told me a few facts that were not mentioned. You might say in the incident of what actually happened. Okay. And I always say a picture is a thousand words. All right. A picture is. I will show the picture, but I won't give you his name. I don't even know if the gentleman is alive anymore, if he got captured by the government. What I mean by captured by the government was the clandestine government, you might say, spooks. I'll even give them another name, spooks. Um, but anyways, see if you can see them here. Okay. There. Here is me. We'll give my pen. Okay. This was no. Here we go. Okay. Here's me right there when I was younger and had long hair, and right here is the Guardian. Right here. Okay. And this came from Mosley because I got in touch. I got in touch with Jim because I thought this was interesting. I told him to keep a lot of stuff out of saucer smear for January 10th, 1997. It says below is a rare or possibly unique photograph of the entity known as Guardian, who will be remembered for his weird paranoid writings, which were part of the Carp-Ontario, Canada UFO landing case a few years ago. Dr. Bruce Maccabee, who I also had conversations with, writing in smear and elsewhere, found reasons to endorse the Carp landing video, but he carefully ignored Guardian's strange writings, which were an integral part of that case. In the photo, Clark Schmidt is on the left, and Guardian, whose real name is blah blah, is on the right. Schmidt is co-director of Celestial Vision School of Metaphysical Arts in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where your smear editor lectured recently. Guardian was photographed when he spoke there a year or two ago. And then Mosley kind of mentions is that he will be coming, giving a lecture, and gave his phone number. But anyways, once again, where is he? Right here. Okay. This is right here again is the actual photograph of the Guardian. All right, with the Carp affair. Also, new few major things that were not mentioned about Ruby Ridge, and some other good stuff. Like I said, if you happen to find encounters or unsolved mysteries, watch it. Okay. But anyways, okay, more. Okay, since I got it out here, I will tell you a little bit more here. Why is this like? Oh, I get it. Okay, let me go do it like this. Okay, I'll give you a little bit more information. Okay, about more on the video itself that the Guardian took. It says. Okay, in the version of Guardian's video that was sent to CUFORN, the Canadian UFO Research Network, the last three frames show a windshield with the wiper blades in an upright position. Why would Guardian put those frames that appear to have been shot at night with artificial light on the tape? Were those frames designed to give a clue as to what the craft really was? In the course of one of many discussions between the investigators, what they thought about the windshield footage on Guardian's video, blah blah replied it wasn't a windshield, but rather the design of the side of the craft. Blah blah asked how he came to that conclusion, and blah blah replied, well, there's Diane's evidence together with my expertise in analysis. Okay, let's see here. Unsolved. Okay, with unsolved mysteries. let's see, anything that, okay, okay, well, no, okay, well, forget about that in the course of me. Okay, well, that wasn't the Guardian. Okay. Let's see here, real fast. I mean, this was one of the biggest cases in the annuals of close encounters of the third and fourth kind. You might even say it could have been just as big as the Roswell incident of 47. Okay. Um, yeah, they're just talking about how the government of Canada um, was looking for him and stuff. Here's one on with Maccabee and what he has. Okay. In the second installment of their critique of the Carp case, the MUFON Ontario authors have published the names of people who said they wish to remain anonymous, including that of the Guardian suspect, who claims that he is not Guardian. This is bad. This is a bad form, if not unethical. MUFON International should consider disciplinary action. The MUFON Ontario version supported Mr. Blah Blah claimed that that the primary witness Blah Blah was discovered in a search of the neighborhood of witnesses to a strange event the previous summer. It is important to note that she was found in a search of the area. There had been no publicity about the Guardian case, and the people who were living in the area were simply asked about any strange event that could recall the previous summer. Okay, taking the last statement, however, the main just not important. Let's see, however, we don't know this. Not important. I examined. Okay, again, this is from Bruce himself. I have examined the frames in question and also the approximately 500 which follow in the video that Mr. Blah Blah received. Apparently, Blah Blah did not have these frames. The imagery of those 17 seconds show nearly straight or zigzag lines of verifying brightness and orientation, including a bright one with slants upward and to the right from near the bottom of the frame. This, I presume, is the windshield wiper, as confirmed by Blah Blah expertise as a windshield wiper repairment. Well, anyways, Maccabee is saying is that what he analyzed was actually a true account of what the picture of what the frames showed, what the video actually showed, and he was saying is that there was no fraud involved or a phony landing, and what was taken on the video. It's on the video. It's on the video itself. And then let's see here. Then comes the Royal Canadian Mounted Police investigation report. This is when they were looking for the Guardian to arrest the Guardian because they felt is that a few of the laws of Canada were broken, and they couldn't find the Guardian because he was up in, as what I was told by Sheila, was that the Guardian was living up in near Ruby Ridge. But like I said, he was on the run at the time, and a friend of hers gave her a call and said that she knew that she knew um, the Guardian, and he needed another place to hide out, which was down in Florida. That's how I had a chance to come in contact with this gentleman. In fact, the last thing he said to me before he disappeared again with this friend of mine is that he said to me, take care of you. I don't know. I'm trying to remember this by verbatim. This was years ago. He says, you're going to be all right. Take care of yourself and don't worry about it. Those were the exact words that he said before he was being driven off. So anyways, that's the guy. So anyways, that is the Guardian affair. And I thought that was very number one, it was peculiar in the sense. Number two is that it was an experience that any true UFO ufologist would want to experience, and I don't think they and I don't think they ever had. And number three, it was like a 1930s, 40s Universal or MGM not a murder mystery per se, but with drama, mystery, suspense, you name it. It was completely all. It was completely all rolled into one. Now, like I said, I don't know if the Guardian is still alive today, if he's been or if he was ever caught. Um, if what I have no idea, but I do know one thing is that people tried to really debunk this case that happened back in 88, 89. Okay, with all the research that I've done it throughout the years, and I have it right here in front of me, is that I do believe personally that the Guardian actually took the video of the landing, took pictures of the aliens or the EBE that came out of the craft itself. Now, if Frank Strangers could take a gentleman named Val Thor to the Pentagon back in the 50s, who claimed to be from Venus, and said to some of the generals by the type of clothes he wore that they could not be that the clothes he wore were indestructible by just about anything that we had on this planet, like fire, acid, whatever. And he lent his jacket to one of the aides of one of these generals to get permission for experiments to be done. And the experiments came back, and it was reported that they used they used a flamethrower, what was it, acid, and some other caustic type of materials, and it didn't burn the jacket, it didn't form any holes within the jacket itself. Then why couldn't this, with the Carp incident, not be real as well? Just like why could not Roswell not be real? as well, or the Aztec, the Aztec, New Mexico crash landing uh, be not real itself, or what's been going on with Area 51, Dreamland, for example. So, it's like you have the forces that are the debunkers, who I'm going to be talking about later on, and I'm going to give you their names, and I'm going to give you their code names, and it's already out. It's already out, so it's not like this is all top secret stuff. So, um, so now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah. So why not? Like I said, why not say is that what happened with the Carp incident? Um, the, with the debunkers could not debunk what actually happened, because, like I said, is that even if the Royal Canadian Mounted Police have found, working with the FBI here in the States, have found the Guardian, they really couldn't do anything, because actually he didn't break really any laws, besides maybe how the Canadian government, military, you know, um, came about. I mean, just like with the military today, with trying to suppress information about UFO sightings, and also with EBEs, um, not only monitoring this planet, but also EBEs living on this planet, which I'll be again talking about shortly. Okay, this happened again. This happened again in February of 1993. Um, Go something like this, and then I'm going to finish out this section with the Guardian and move into with Sheila and alien alien abductions. No, I don't think so, and I'll explain that in a minute. And anyways, a few years ago, several UFO researchers, including myself, not myself, but the writer of this article, received a package of info from an anonymous sender, including were several supposedly authentic documents, maps, and diagrams concerning a crash saucer near Carp-Ontario, which is near Ottawa. The documents allege that both the Canadian and U.S. military covered up the crash, which included recovery of alien bodies, uh, saucer, okay, including the alien bodies, the saucer, etc. Again, just like what happened in 47, just like what happened in 47 at Roswell, and also at Aztec. Investigators by Clive Madden, Christian Page, and Leonard Stringfield, who I had a chance at one time to also have a talk with, and the writer, showed that this was all in likelihood a hoax, and a pretty poor one at that. The docs were badly and contrived amateur jobs with numerous spelling mistakes in one long, tedious section. The docs warned mankind about a threat by Red China to Jews, and how the White Brotherhood was working somehow to keep the military in line, etc. I think there were, that could have just thrown off the investigators, just like what's been going on in North Korea. It's like bread and circuses. You're doing something over here, while showing what the bread and circus is to the audience, why the people are doing something over here like Obama does all the time, especially like on a Friday when he signs bills or executive orders that nobody knows about until finally they come out. And when does he do it? For the bread and circuses, when something's going on over here, when he is signing executive orders here. So, okay, that's what bread and circuses is, to keep your attention away by what's going on. And I think what they were trying to say is about the threat of Red China to Jews and how the White Brotherhood was working somehow to keep the military in line again through bread. To my thinking, through bread and circuses. Clive and other researchers went to the site, indicating on the map, and found no indication of anything. Local residents knew nothing about the movements of heavy equipment, as the docs allege, and there has been only a few minor NL sightings during the past number of years. Later, blurry Polaroid photos were received by several researchers. These allowed nothing but patches and color and were accomplished by more ramblings about the White Brotherhood. I notified the Royal Canadian Mounted Police about the packages. It was determined that the sender mailed the items from somewhere in Ottawa, Hull, specifically the downtown Ottawa post office. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police were interested in the items because of their similarity to hate literature. The video came later. Okay, blah blah. Okay, the video looks good, and he somehow found a witness whose story matched exactly the video image, who saw something during the year in and about the same area. But putting it into the context of all the other stuff, the case looks very bad. Now, of course, if someone fingers the Guardian, then the UM segment will have been worthwhile. But as a UFO case, forget it. The the documents have been reprinted in a few UFO signs, including this guy's writing, who wrote this article, Swamp Gas Journal, and I think the Cambridge UFO newsletter. Leonard Stringfield has copies, and so does Christian Page. They both have written about the case as an obvious hoax. Well, of course. Okay, and the reason why is getting back to the White Brotherhood with what did he say here? With the threat, mankind about a threat by Red China to Jews, and how the White Brotherhood was working somehow to keep the military in line, etc. But then again, as you read by what Mosley had to say, again, what did Mosley say? Let's see. Paranoid writings. Okay, when I talked to the Guardian personally, he did not sound paranoid. He did not sound like he was he had manic depression, that he was schizophrenic, that he was bipolar. When he was talking to the group that came in that night, he was very sound of mind. A little afraid of because of his involvement with this by taking the Polaroid, by taking the pictures and also taping of what was going on. But anybody would be classified as paranoid of government agencies, especially from Canada and also from the United States after you, because you never know. If they would have caught him at that time, they would never have known he would never know what actually would have happened to him. Either he would have been committed or buried out in the desert, in in outside of Las Vegas, out in the desert with other uh, gangsters, you might say. So yeah, but like I said, when I met him that night, he was very sound of mind and of body. Okay, so that's so that is the guard. So that is the what I call is the guardian incident. Um, Anyways, I was going to get into abductions, but I didn't feel that this would be the time to get into that because I did mention a few in my last video with Carla Turner and her husband and herself, and I also gave you a movie to watch if you have a chance. It's called um, what I got it Close Encounter. Well, I think it's called Close Encounter of the Fourth Kind. It's about a takeoff on Carla Turner as being being a psychologist, to where Turner was a PhD in English history. Uh, you also had Intruders with the movie Intruders with John Mack. Um, okay, you had Communion with Whitney Strieber. That was a good one. I'm trying to think. Um, well, just those particular ones I just mentioned, I would recommend you watching. Okay. I will be talking more about aliens, giving you names and probably where they came from, as what we know as UFO researchers and investigators have put together through years of study, and which is going to be fun. I would be talking about the aviary, which is even a lot which is I feel is very, very interesting. So there's going to be a lot of good things. There's going to be a lot of good things that are going to be coming up here very shortly. Like I said, next weekend, a week from today, Dr. Donna Harris is going to be here, who I'm going to be interviewing, and like I said, she's a lot of fun to talk to, and she has a lot of insights about hauntings in England. Uh, so, like I said, I hope that you continue, as Harry Houdini used to say to his audiences, I hope you come back for more thrills. That you can go home and tell your grandchildren, and that's what I'm trying to do, is give you more information and more thrills on the subject of ufology, which I feel a lot of the channels, again, sometimes do not touch upon. They're talking about today of what's going on. I mean, I could be talking about later on, I will be talking about John Bigelow and the Skinwalker Ranch. I'll be talking, oh God, I mean, there's just just so much so much that I know through research and again through personal experiences. And I do hope that you like this video. It was my pleasure to bring it out this early in the morning, which is now 7:30, and I started at what time? I think it was at 5:45, a little after 5 in the morning, and I'm going to have myself another cup of coffee here. So, anyways. I hope that you I'll try it again. I hope that you continue coming back like Houdini, and I will give you more thrills on my knowledge on my knowledge lectures on ufology. And with that, I'm going to say, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.